Hey, you! Before we get started today, I have a new podcast where I talk about Magic the Gathering with my friend Isaac. Go check it out at Put Your Cards on the Table or through the link in the description below. Alright, let's get started. Dredge is a totally normal, very relaxing fishing game, where sometimes you catch fish and sometimes they catch you. You play as an unnamed fisherman who's newly arrived in the town of Greater Marrow. You begin by simply riding the waves and catching fish in the area, but soon it becomes clear that something is very, very wrong. The main story involves you finding relics for a mysterious man known only as the Collector, who grants you abyssal powers to help you on your journey. While looking around, you'll need to complete a variety of side quests for other characters to get the equipment you need to find more of these relics, as well as upgrade your ship by selling fish as often as you can. Just remember that no matter what you think you see, there are no other boats out on the ocean with you. I don't want to go too deep into the story, as it really only kicks off towards the very end and is basically impossible to discuss without spoiling everything. Overall, it's a pretty good plot with a lot of mystery and twists that you might not understand until it's too late. I can, however, discuss the gameplay, and it's really good. Most of your time in this game will be taken up by fishing, which you accomplish by finding disturbed water and performing a variety of minigames. You can't fish everywhere right away, and you'll need to buy new equipment so that you can get the fish you need. For example, you'll start out only able to fish in shallow zones, but you can buy new rods to fish in oceanic or even volcanic areas. There are a lot of different ways to fish in this game, with a total of 10 methods, 7 of which are specific fishing biomes, being shallow, coastal, oceanic, mangrove, volcanic, abyssal, and hadal, as well as trawl nets which passively collect fish, crab pots for crustaceans, and dredging gear to pull up items from wrecks in the deep. In order to get new gear, you need to first research it. Research parts are a rare resource that you commonly get for completing quests, and you can spin them in the research tree to unlock your new items. Once gear is unlocked, it becomes available for purchase from the shipwright, who also helps you upgrade your vessel with more space and room for gear. Upgrading your ship uses resources you can only get by dredging, like scrap metal, wooden planks, and bolts of twine. And of course, all of it costs money. The gameplay loop pretty much boils down to go catch fish, sell those fish, upgrade your boat, research new gear, then buy new gear so you can go catch more fish. This part of the game can be really relaxing, and you'll probably begin to wonder why it was tagged as a horror game, but you'll figure out pretty quick once night rolls around. Time doesn't pass if you're just sitting at a port or not moving on the water. It only passes during important actions like traveling or fishing. And time management is pretty important, since you really don't want to get caught out on open water when it gets dark, because holy shit, it gets dark. Spending time in the darkness will increase your panic, and once it gets high enough, you'll begin to hallucinate dangers, such as rocks in front of you or birds that steal your cargo. Or worse things. These are incredibly dangerous, and while you can reduce panic with brighter lights, the only way to make it go back down is by resting at a port. But the true horror doesn't come from sailing around in the dark. It comes from what's lurking in the depths. And it doesn't need to be night for those terrors to reveal themselves. I wouldn't say that Dredge is traditionally scary. While there are some moments that instilled genuine fear or panic in me as I played, it was mostly because I didn't see something coming or was a tense chase with precious cargo. No, the fear I felt while playing Dredge didn't come from scary monsters, or dark oceans, or character dialogue. The fear I felt came from pulling out of a port and looking over the huge distance I had to cross. The thought of something in the waves next to me with no safety around, or a mouth rising beneath my boat, or that groaning noise resulting in that awful giant fin rising right behind me. The thoughts of those monsters were scarier than the monsters themselves. And when you look out over that gap you need to cross for your next objective, you just get this awful sinking feeling in your stomach. Perhaps it's simply the fact that I'm afraid of the deep ocean, but Dredge's horror is a very unique experience compared to other media in the genre, because it's all the player's drive to continue that causes it. In other games, you're frequently pushed forward by chases or the threat of a game over, but in Dredge, you don't need to risk that. You can just sit in the shallows and fish your time away, never being in any danger at all. But if you do that, you'll never know. You'll never learn what's happening, you'll never see what's under those waves. And that might be even worse. It's a really unique way of doing horror, and I absolutely loved it. The gameplay systems also work perfectly hand in hand. The loop of upgrading equipment to find new fish to catch is entertaining and never gets old. And once you catch them, you need to play this Tetris with them in your storage. Obviously, you want to hold as many fish as you can in one trip, so you might spend a while figuring out how to get them all in there. This doesn't sound particularly interesting, but while you're fiddling around with fish Jenga, anything could be sneaking up on you, creating a lot of tension if you're out on open water, and especially at night. After each relic that you deliver to the collector, he'll also award you with a special power, all of which are incredibly useful. There's a speed boost, a recall, a protection spell, and an instant fishing spell that kills those fish permanently. These all increase your panic, so you shouldn't spam any of them too often, except the haste spell. That's just generally useful. Everything you do makes it feel like you're progressing, making money, researching, doing tasks, or even just traveling. Hell, even filling out your fish Pokédex is satisfying. It's fun, relaxing, and absolutely horrific all at once. But enough about gameplay. You've all had too much fun. It's time for your per-video segment about visuals and sound, fuckos. Dredge looks really good. The environment uses this lovely low-poly look where everything is really angular. The water looks fantastic, and the way the camera bounces as you ride over the waves is great. When you interact with locals or catch fish, it uses a messy 2D style that I really like, similar to digital oil paintings. The designs are also fantastic, with all of the humans you interact with looking tired or gaunt, and the fish you pull up can be aberrations, twisted versions of themselves that leave cryptic mysteries when you find them. They have really good designs and can be really off-putting the first time you see one. The environment uses bright colors for important areas, and uses a crimson red to signify danger, making it relatively easy to determine whether something is going to hunt you down. Now, this isn't always the case, but the other dangerous sea life that doesn't prominently display a bright red will make it very clear that they are dangerous. This is mostly done through sound design. Dredge's sound design feels wet. I know that's a weird thing to say, but it does a great job of feeling like the ocean. The ambiance of the waves or the creaking of your ship are incredibly prominent throughout. And when you're over disturbed water, this deep, bubbly sound plays, like air hitting the bottom of the boat. The music is pretty damn good too, exclusively playing in safe areas like ports or when you're in shallow areas, which doubles in effectiveness when you leave those places and the music fades out, leaving you with just the slapping of the waves against the hull and the thought of monsters in the water around you. But where the sound really shines is when you find something that you shouldn't. This game has a very interesting effect where you can discover something new and be completely enthralled by it, amazed by how beautiful it is, only to immediately 180 when you're running for your life the next second. Take for example the Starlight Basin. When I first arrived here, it took my breath away. It was during the night and everything lit up underwater, creating this beautiful blue light show. It was absolutely incredible, and I felt completely safe. So imagine my surprise when I rested until morning only to find a gigantic kraken hiding right in the middle of the basin, and some of those lights were created by sprawling tentacles reaching upwards. And that's the exact moment I learned about the groan. The groan is what I'm deciding to call a specific sound in Dredge used to symbolize danger. a deep, low rumbling created by something massive under the water. You can hear it in the basin, the cliffs, and whenever this guy shows up. But sometimes, it just seems to play randomly. Every time I'm on open water and I hear it, I look around in absolute paranoid horror for that giant fin appearing behind me, but this guy cucks me every time. I've only seen it once in my entire playthrough, and it was within the first hour, so you can see my panic in that clip I've been using. It's a fantastic way to create fear in the player and scares the fuck out of me. One of the only issues that I have with this game is that it's really short. The gameplay never feels like it drags, so time flies by when you're sailing around. It took me just over 17 hours to 100% the game, which is nothing to scoff at, but I really want more. I feel that there's a lot of space to introduce new enemies, fish, and mysteries in a satisfying way, and I really hope that more content comes out for this title in the near future. Overall, Dredge is a really solid game. If you're afraid of the ocean, you're gonna shit your pants, and if you're not, you'll get a decent scare regardless. The story is cool, the art is fantastic, and the gameplay is super fun. You can pick it up on Steam or Nintendo Switch for $25. And there's a $5 DLC that just adds some bonus equipment. I don't recommend buying the DLC unless you just want to support the developers because it barely affects gameplay at all. I'd rate Dredge an improved hull out of a very full cargo hold, and I recommend it if you have some free time. Oh yeah, and stand by for new outro. I'll see you soon.